The Las Vegas Raiders just made a move so unexpected, so completely out of character, that even the sharpest minds in the NFL couldn't see it coming. And when you find out the real reason behind it, everything you thought you knew about this franchise changes instantly. Let's start with something that makes absolutely zero sense on the surface. Picture a player who shows up every single week, never misses a defensive snap, leads the entire team in tackles, becomes the heartbeat of the whole secondary. Now picture that same player, just a few months later, being shopped around the league like a spare part nobody wants anymore. Sounds insane, right? How does that even happen? That is the exact reality Jeremy Chinn is living right now. And his situation is not just a Raider story. It is a warning sign for every veteran player in the entire NFL. Jeremy Chinn came to Las Vegas with something to prove. And he proved it in the loudest way possible. In 2025, the man racked up 114 tackles. 114. He was everywhere on that defense, making stops, cleaning up plays, communicating the entire secondary. That level of production was not a fluke either. The season before, playing in Washington, he crossed the 100 tackle mark as well. Back-to-back seasons of elite production. Consistent, reliable, locked in. His contract, just over $16 million across 2 years. For that kind of output, that is practically a bargain. Most teams in the league would have already slid a contract extension across the table by now. But the Raiders did not do that. Instead, what started quietly in the background has now grown into something nobody can ignore. Multiple sources, multiple analysts, all pointing to the same thing. Jeremy Chinn is being positioned as a trade candidate before the 2026 season even kicks off. So what is actually going on here? Here is the part that most people are missing. The Raiders have quietly been pouring resources into young defensive backs. They are building something new in that secondary, and they are doing it with youth at the center of the plan. At the same time, the front office has been directing serious money toward quarterback and offensive line. The positions they have decided are the true foundation of this rebuild. Chinn entering the final year of his contract in 2026 makes the timing almost perfect for a trade. His cap number is small. He is affordable. He is productive. For any team that needs an immediate defensive upgrade, he is one of the most attractive names available right now. And that is exactly the problem. The Raiders might be looking at Chinn and seeing not a cornerstone, but a chess piece. One they can move to collect draft capital and accelerate the rebuild on their own terms. The brutal reality of today's NFL. Performance alone no longer guarantees your future with a franchise. Contracts, cap space, roster timelines, they all matter just as much as what you do on the field. Jeremy Chinn is learning that lesson the hard way. But the Jeremy Chinn situation is only one piece of this puzzle. Because while the Raiders figure out what to do on defense, a brand new rumor just exploded on the offensive side of the ball. And the player at the center of it could completely flip the script for this offense. Who do you think gets traded first, Jeremy Chinn or someone even bigger? Hold that thought, because the answer might shock you. The Keon Coleman rumor nobody is taking seriously enough while the rest of the league is chasing the biggest names on the market. A quieter conversation has been building inside NFL circles. And if it actually happens, the Raiders' offense transforms overnight. The name is Keon Coleman, Buffalo Bills wide receiver. And the trade scenario that ESPN's Ben Solak floated recently. It is far more realistic than people are giving it credit for. Here is the deal on the table. Las Vegas sends a 5th-round pick in the 2028 draft to Buffalo. In return, the Raiders get Coleman plus a 7th-round pick back. That is it. That is the entire cost. Now before you scroll past this, stop and think about what the Raiders actually need right now. They spent an entire offseason building this roster around rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza. The offensive line got upgraded. Speed was added at receiver with Jalen Naylor. Trey Tucker showed genuine improvement last season. But there is still a massive hole in this offense, and it is painfully obvious. This team has no receiver who can go up and win a contested catch. No one who can body a cornerback and come down with the football in traffic. That physical, imposing presence at wide receiver simply does not exist in Las Vegas right now. Keon Coleman fills that void immediately. Think about how Mendoza played in college. He thrived throwing to big, physical receivers who could create separation even when defenders were draped all over them. Coleman is literally that player. Long, powerful, capable of making catches that smaller receivers simply cannot make. Put him on the field alongside Brock Bowers, one of the most dangerous weapons at tight end in the entire league, and suddenly Fernando Mendoza has two genuinely terrifying options on every single play. The finances make it even more attractive. Coleman is still on his rookie deal. The cap hit is minimal. For the Raiders, this is the definition of a low-risk, high-reward move. Now here is the reality check. Sources close to the Bills organization say Buffalo has not decided to move Coleman yet. A new coaching staff just arrived in town, and they want to evaluate everything before making permanent decisions. So right now, the chances of this trade actually happening are somewhere between low and moderate. But here is what makes this rumor impossible to ignore. Last season, only Brock Bowers and Trey Tucker topped 400 receiving yards for the Raiders. That is it. 2 players. On a team trying to develop a rookie quarterback. That is not good enough, and everyone inside that building knows it. The Raiders need more weapons. Coleman is available at a price that almost seems too good. This situation is worth watching extremely closely. Speaking of watching closely, the next story makes everything else look small. Because a blockbuster move just went down in the NFL, and the shockwaves are heading straight toward Las Vegas. And the player caught in the middle of it all is someone who has defined Raider football for years. Drop your comment right now. Should the Raiders pull the trigger on Keon Coleman? Yes or no? Let's see where Raider Nation stands. The Max Crosby domino nobody wants to talk about a massive trade just reshaped the NFL. And most fans were so caught up in the headlines that they missed the chain reaction it quietly set in motion. A chain reaction that leads directly to Max Crosby. Here is the full picture. Myles Garrett, for years considered completely untouchable in Cleveland, just got traded to the Los Angeles Rams. The Browns had a price. The Rams met it. Just like that, one of the most dominant defensive players in football is now wearing a different jersey and joining a roster that already had Super Bowl ambitions. When a move that seismic happens, the rest of the league does not sit still. Rivals start making calls. Front offices start asking questions. And the name that keeps coming up in those conversations: Max Crosby. This is not a new story. The Raiders actually came extremely close to trading Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens not long ago. The deal was reportedly moving forward, and then it fell apart. The official reason involved medical concerns during the evaluation process. But behind the scenes, many insiders believe Las Vegas simply pumped the brakes at the last second. Since then, Crosby pulled back his trade request. He is still a Raider, but the rumors have never fully gone away. And with Garrett now shooting up for the Rams, the pressure on NFC teams just went up dramatically. The Seattle Seahawks have to face Los Angeles inside their own division now. That alone is enough to make them pick up the phone. The San Francisco 49ers are already in conversations about adding pass rush help, and pairing Crosby with Nick Bosa would create arguably the most terrifying edge duo the NFL has seen in years. And then there are the Philadelphia Eagles. Before the Garrett trade happened, Philadelphia was already being connected to the Browns as a potential destination. That deal never came together. Now, some analysts believe Crosby slides into that conversation as the alternative. The Eagles want another dominant presence on defense. Crosby fits exactly what they are looking for. The cost, though, is enormous. Most experts agree it would take at minimum 2 first-round picks to even get the Raiders to pick up the phone seriously. And after watching what it took to move Garrett, that price may have already climbed even higher. Las Vegas is fully aware of what they have. Elite pass rushers who can change games do not grow on trees. And teams that are desperate to compete, teams that feel the clock ticking, always end up overpaying. The Raiders know that. They are in no rush. But here is where it gets really complicated. Crosby is at a point in his career where he wants to win. He wants a Super Bowl. He wants to be in the playoffs, competing at the highest level. The Raiders are in a full rebuild. Those two realities are pulling in completely opposite directions. And that tension is exactly what keeps this story alive. 3 massive storylines. 1 franchise. And every single one of them has the power to completely change the direction of the 2026 NFL season. Jeremy Chinn, a player who gave everything to this defense, potentially being moved for draft picks and future pieces. That is cold. That is calculated. And that is exactly how modern NFL front offices operate. Keon Coleman, a physical mismatch weapon available at a price that almost feels like a mistake, potentially arriving to give Fernando Mendoza the offensive partner he desperately needs. And Max Crosby, the face of Raider football, the engine of this defense, sitting at the center of a league-wide game of chess that could send him to a Super Bowl contender before anyone even realizes what happened. The Raiders are not just rebuilding. They are making decisions that will define this franchise for the next 5 years. Every single move matters. Every trade, every contract, every pick. So here is the question you need to answer right now. If you were running this franchise, which move do you make first? Do you trade Jeremy Chinn and collect the picks? Do you go get Keon Coleman and arm your young quarterback? Or do you finally pull the trigger on a Max Crosby blockbuster that shakes the entire league? Drop your answer in the comments. This is the most important off-season the Raiders have had in years, and Raider Nation deserves to be heard.